Hey y'all, it is summertime and people are going on vacations. People are spending so much time outside in the sun because it's just gorgeous weather. Just having the time of our lives in this season of warm weather. And also what comes along with that is braids. A lot of people get braids during the summertime. A lot of people get braids year round, but you do see an influx of people getting those braided styles because why? We don't want to do our hair one, while we're out of town, and two, it's just an easier way to just have your hair tucked away, especially when it's summertime. You're sweating a lot, you're spending a lot of time in the heat and in the sand and in the sun and all of those things. And we are going to do a video talking about the things that you need to factor in when you're getting those braided styles, because ultimately you want your hair to remain healthy and healthy before, during, and after your braided hairstyle. So let's go ahead and get into it. So many of these styles are so cute that we're seeing on social media. I've seen this hairstyle I saw on Pinterest, and I get a lot of my hairstyles from Pinterest. But this one I saw on Pinterest and I saved it, and I was like, I gotta do this hairstyle. So this is one of the braided styles that I'm getting for the summertime. And so I'm not saying braids are bad. I'm not saying no one should have braids, because obviously I'm wearing braids now. But what we do need to make sure is that you factor in the health of your hair and whether or not that hairstyle is actually going to be detrimental to the health of your hair if you get it. To me, no style is worth me damaging my hair to a point where I am having to do different treatments, do extra care to it, and do different things to it for the next 6 months to get it back into a healthy state. It's not worth it to me. It's also not worth it to me to have a hairstyle where my edges end up wasting away and then I end up with a smooth forehead all the way to behind my ears. It's not worth it for me to have severe breakage. And those are the things that I think a lot of us, everybody should be thinking about, is the health of their hair before the hairstyle, to just make sure that they are doing what they need to do before, during, and after the hairstyle to make sure your hair remains intact and your hair remains healthy. First up, when we're talking about braids, is making sure that you do not get your braids too tight. Trichologists will tell you this. Licensed cosmetologists should also be telling you this, and I hear this a lot too from them as well, which is making sure that your braided hairstyles are not too tight. The common sign of them being too tight is them when you're having pain, when you are seeing pieces pieces of your hair. You're seeing areas of your hair that used to be there and it's no longer there. Your hairline's receding. Those are some of the signs that you're seeing when actually the damage has gotten really bad. And what we're talking about is traction alopecia, which is preventable hair loss that's caused by repeated and prolonged pulling of the hair roots. And the traction alopecia, it makes me so sad when I see people sometimes and they'll have a beautiful lock of gorgeous hair and it's just pretty, it's healthy, it's thick. And then when you see them from the front or from the side, you notice that you have this like basically their hairline is missing. And that's so sad because a lot of times that's usually because they have had those hairstyles in for so long, some style that has caused a lot of tension and it's repeated itself, and you have repeated tension on in that area, and now hairline is starting further back than it should. And that is one thing that I had the very beginning stages of experience. So I'm talking about this because I've been there before. I have not had severe damage in that way, but I did when I first started to transition my hair from relaxed to natural. I decided the easiest way for me to do it was to do a sew in, and I did like a full sew in with a closure. And first off, I'll say, even I'm sitting here talking to you about traction alopecia and repeated tension. If it hurts, don't keep the hairstyle in. And I mean, just for the sake of getting the hairstyle and letting my hair grow out easily, I did. My hairstylist warned me at the time. She told me that her hair, I mean, she braids tight. She recommended that I take an aspirin. That should have been I shouldn't have done it at that point when she said take an aspirin before you get your hair done, right? I did it anyway. And I would get an aspirin, let her braid my hair. That's already tension. And then you have the sewing process of sewing the hair in. That is additional tension that I was adding to my hair. And thankfully, I stopped it early enough when I started seeing issues. I should have just not done that. I should have just gotten my hair sewn in by somebody who doesn't braid as tight. But I get it. We've all been there. And that's why I'm talking to you guys today, because I'm really wanting you guys to just make sure you're thinking about these things, because the health of your hair is so much more important. I'm so serious about that than a hairstyle. And when I saw the very beginning stages of what looked like traction alopecia to me, an unlicensed person who is not a professional, I noticed that at my edges here, I just noticed there were little bitty spots where there were a few hairs missing. I felt like there was a little bit more hair there the last time than the time when I was looking at it. And it wouldn't have been something that anyone else, I think, would have noticed, because that's how early I feel like it was. And that was about 10 months in. I said, that's it. I'm taking this hairstyle down. So I got 10 months in, even though I wanted to go a year and a half. But I said, I am absolutely not going to get to the end of this process, have a beautiful full head of curly, natural hair, and I have no edges. I'm not doing that to myself. And so I actually took the sew in out, and I did not get a sew in again. There are so many ways outside of just, there's so many ways that you can introduce a lot of tension and too much tension to your hair. One is through the tight braiding, right? That's the first way. The other way is also through, if you're getting hair added and you're sewing it in, right? That also adds additional tension. Also, the length of the hair that you're using, the amount of hair that you're using also can factor into this traction alopecia, because if you're getting those super long braids, and nothing's wrong with those, but if you're getting those and your hair is not as healthy as it should be before you put those braids in, if your hair is fine, brittle, anything like that, and you have these long braids, this is what the braid is doing to your root. It's hanging on like this. And when it's super long, it is adding a lot more tension to your hair, in addition to the tension you got when you braided it. So those are all things that you have to think about. And the back-to-back braids is something that also needs to be factored into. Your hair needs a break in between getting braids, and could also be a culprit for traction alopecia and help lead to issues when you are getting tight tension hairstyles back to back without your hair resting. Another thing you want to think about as well with braids is the lack of moisture. You want to make sure that you are preparing your hair before you get it braided, as well as during the braided hairstyle, as well as after the braided hairstyle. And I know I know some people like decide to not wash their hair while they're in braids, and that is not a good idea. Just because your hair is tucked away in a braid does not mean that your scalp does not need to be washed and cleansed off.
Preparing for braids, so I did 2 strands in her hair. What we're gonna do is prep her hair today, but even when she had 2 strands, it was prepping her for braids also.
I love this. I'm saving them. I'm like, dang.
Got her under the steamer with a hydrating mat.
I know that when you wash your hair, you know, like the hair gel is not there anymore, and your front area looks a little fuzzy, but I'd rather that you throw a headband on it. I'd rather you try to slick it down yourself after you wash your hair, because because water cleanses when you are shampooing your hair, but also washing your hair, the act of that also introduces more moisture back into your hair. So before your hair, you absolutely want to make sure you're doing the proper prepping, which is washing it, conditioning it, drying it before you're braiding it. Also, while it's braided, you want to make sure that you are taking care of your scalp and your hair as well. Some of the braided styles, you can just use shampoo just full on, and some braided styles, you do need to dilute the shampoo to allow it to flow through the extra hair that you have added easily, because what you don't want to have happen is when you're washing your hair to have that shampoo in its full form being trapped inside your braids or whatever hairstyle you have. So you do want to factor that in, but you definitely want to make sure you're washing your hair. You should not have your braids in for 2 months, for example, and you haven't washed your hair, and the only time it was washed was before the braids were added and then after. That's not a good thing, guys. Also, you do want to make sure that you're trimming your hair. Trimming is okay. You obviously, if you have your hair down here, it may not feel good to have it chopped up to here if that's what's needed. But at the same time, as you leave, if you do not treat split ends when they are early on, all they do is split up the hair shaft. So also, in addition to washing your hair, conditioning and shampoo it, you do want to trim it and make sure that you're taking care of your hair in that way as well. And so I'm sharing that to say, like I said, we have all been there, but we definitely gotta make sure that we are thinking about our hair through every step of this process. And let me know what questions you guys have. Let me know what braided styles you are planning on doing for the summer. I have another hairstyle. I don't know what it's called, but I usually find my hairstyles on Pinterest. But let me know what other braided hairstyle you guys are getting for the summer. And I will talk to you again soon. Make sure you check out my website, Fashion Home Life by E, to see the turbans that I have handcrafted. I also have scarves on there, headbands for people, especially with people with small heads like myself. I also have regular size ones too. And then I'm also will have some, like I said, scarves. There will be daytime clutches on there that I have handcrafted, as well as there will be pocket squares for men. Thank you so much. And I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye.